you.
Signature from Rebecca.
Thank you, Mary. Here's the rest of the group.
Go back to the email. At 6 o'clock it was not.
Okay.
Okay, Rebecca, I'm gonna need one signature from you tonight.
All right. Yeah, could you turn that off? Thank you.
No problem. I don't see anybody. And it's 6:30.
And Madam Chairman, if you wouldn't mind having somebody else do the pledge, because it's kind of difficult doing it from the Zoom call.
Sure, of course.
I know it's my turn. I'll do it next meeting I'm there.
Well, that's fine, thank you.
We'll trade.
Good catch, Ross.
Oh, and by the way, just so you guys know, looking down from our perch, it's really fun to watch all you guys kicking your feet and dangling your toes. And I wasn't aware that you guys knew that.
I didn't know you could see that.
Like I said, I'm just glad I'm over here. You can't see my bald spot anymore.
There's no email.
Why do you think that?
There's no email. Congratulations.
What'd you say, Bob? Why do you think that?
I said, why do you think that? Sorry, it's a bad
Yes,
joke.
my bald spot. Yeah.
I was laughing, Bob, so
Okay, well, glad someone got it.
I get your humor.
All right. I think we're. Oh, what's this one?
No, Mrs.
We're missing people. For those who haven't met Carolyn Ramirez, she's our town technician. She's been with us for a couple of years now. This is Rebecca Dorothy Bird. I know you touched on the phone, and Kim Gerald Johnson. Yeah, and Jose, of course. And Jose.
I think you probably talked to everybody on the phone. You've never met. And then Bob.
Yes, Bob Owen and Ross Leisha up there.
Yes.
Can't see you, but
Okay.
What'd you do to your hand, Bob?
my dog bit it today.
Oh, no. Oh, you didn't hear that part, Ross?
Yeah.
No, I
His
did
dog
not.
His dog is having seizures and it bit him.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, it
Well,
is.
I know you guys can't see because everything, but I have just cuts and scars all over my hand and arms because our daughter got a brand new golden retriever puppy
Oh.
and it has a mouth full of razor blades.
Sharp teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And it would just turn so fast and just like bite me, and that's it. I was bleeding everywhere. So
Oh my goodness. So who should do the pledge if it's not Ross?
Yeah. Jose.
Jose's gonna do it. Okay, fantastic.
All right. I think we're good to go.
It is, what time is it?
6:33.
Okay, we are about to begin our regular session. It is 6:33. I would like to state that I am passing the meeting tonight to Kim Johnson, so I'll pass it to her. And again, I want to thank everybody repeatedly. I can't say enough about the well wishes that everyone has sent me. I'm still having procedures done, and we're coming along, but they tell me it might be another 6 months, but I'm hoping for 3. So thank you. Kim, please.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And we will go ahead and do the pledge to the flag.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Put your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there is nothing to announce from our closed session other than staff gave, or the board gave direction to staff concerning the property negotiation issue.
Yeah, we will be going back to the closed session at
Oh,
the
yes.
conclusion of the meeting.
And we will be going back into closed session at the end of the meeting.
And the personnel issue as well.
Well, we haven't given any direction yet, but okay.
It's true.
Roll call? Okay, yes. Division 1, Kim Gerald Johnson. Here. Division 2, Jose Luis Godinez.
Present.
Division 3, Rebecca Redorte Burns.
Present.
Division 4, Edgar Castellan.
Present.
Division 5, Ross Leisha.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. DeGwitt, are there any presentations or recognitions?
Not tonight.
Ms. Burgess, are there any public comments? No, there is not. Okay. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Anybody have any questions or corrections? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
All second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes, yeah.
Madam President, as I'm zooming, do we need a roll call on all motions tonight, or do we just do?
Maybe roll call on motions.
Okay, I will begin a roll call. Okay, Ross Leisha,
Yes.
Edgar Castellan,
Yes.
Jose Luis Godinez,
Yes.
Rebecca Redorte Burns,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson. Aye. Thank you. And we'll try to remind each other. Okay, good plan. Okay, so the first board action item, 5.1, discussion possible approval agreement with GoGov for citizen request management software. Mr. DeGwitt?
Yes, as the board is aware, the district has currently, for the last couple of years, been utilizing eCitizen, which is a online application with a mobile app in which our residents can report park concerns throughout the district, and they're routed to us. Staff corrects the problem and updates the software, and the resident, if the resident requested, they're notified of the completion of it. It was a good app to begin with. Originally started with JCSD, the city of Eastville, the city of Rupa Valley, and the Park District, all were using it at one time. It just never truly lived up to their selling points, honestly. Since then, within the last 4 months, the city of Eastville, the city of Rupa Valley, and last week, the city of, the Rupa Community Services District have left the app and gone to GoGov. We reached out to the GoGov, had a presentation from them. Phenomenal program, far exceeds the capabilities of eCitizen. One of the biggest problems we had with eCitizen is City of Rupa Valley received a notice of graffiti that was misdirected and was on a park instead of in a public location. They would have to basically send us an email and a screenshot. Hey, this is yours, not ours. They couldn't reassign it to us. It was something they kept promising that would happen. And it just never came to fruition. But just the tracking systems that are built into GoGov, the ability to run reports, our staff will be able to upload not only a picture of the graffiti that was reported, that's been painted out, the resident will see a picture of the clean wall now, but they can, submit measurements that it was a 5x5 square. And based on the input we put into there, we know that a 5x5 square would take us X gallons of paint or whatever, and we could calculate our costs of paint and our labor and how long it took them, so we can get true, accurate reports, especially for graffiti. If for some reason they ever do catch one of these taggers and they are prosecuted, we could potentially receive restitution because of it. We just don't have that ability right now, nor do we have the manpower to be able to track it manually. And just much better reporting as to what's going on in the district. Anyway, like I said, it was a phenomenal program, and I was extremely scared to receive their cost proposal. But to my amazement, it was actually a couple $100 less than we're paying for our current program. So it's my recommendation that we switch to GoGov. Our current subscription ends the end of July. And if this is approved, it's already in next year's fiscal budget. The assumption is it would still be there. We would start the onboarding process. We don't pay any subscription fees until we go live with the program. And it would be no downtime to the district. The only thing we'd have is just some education of the public that we have now switched to GoGov. We would have a branded app. I'm sure, hopefully you guys have downloaded either the Rupa Valley or Eastville app. We would have a branded app. There's some advantages to that. We can link it to our website. We can link to our registration systems from a one-touch concept. So that's my report. If you have any questions for me, I will do the best I can to answer them.
I've downloaded the GoGov app for the city of Rupa Valley. And I wouldn't say it's perfect, but
I don't think any app's perfect.
no. I will say this, though, you know, it all has to do with how staff uses it. So like some of their departments will do that thing where you talk about, take the picture and respond and say, oh, yes, we took care of this. Other of their departments, you just put it into a black hole and you never hear from them again. Not saying they haven't done anything, but you would never know what they've done because they never get back to you. So I'm just saying, if we want staff to do that kind of thing, we have to make sure they're doing it.
That'd be part of our training, yes. One thing I do want to add is the difference between GoGov and the eCitizen app is we uploaded all of our GIS shape files to the eCitizen web server. GoGov links to what would be our servers, and we direct them to the file. So if we change anything, it's automatically there. The problem is we don't have that technical ability. We don't have that software. But I reached out to JCSD and Chris Birch, our general manager, and got me in contact with the GIS department. They're going to host it for us free of charge for those shape files. They're going to charge us their hourly rate for the setting up of it, which would be a couple $100. So that was a great partnership that we definitely appreciate. So.
Yeah, I think, Kim, again, thank you on that training. Truly, if they can be trained to the extent they need to, that, you know, we wouldn't in any way make that a short training, just ensure that they're comfortable and that you wouldn't get a call like that when in the black hole. So that's even.
Exactly. Yeah. That the one nice thing with just eCitizen alone, it's, again, nothing's perfect. But we have really reduced those. I called to come to report this and you did nothing about it. You know, we had a manual tracking system and things dropping through just doesn't happen anymore. And this has the same, but you said it depends on the department, the city, they have multiple departments, we have one, you know.
Right. So like I said, it's not that they don't do something, it's just, I never know they did anything, I never hear from them again.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
No, I think that's one of the biggest assets of this program, even eCitizen. You can report something anonymously. Maybe 25 or 30% of the people report anonymously. Most people have an account. They want to know, is that graffiti or that broken irrigation I reported, did they fix it? And they for the most part, I think, appreciate the fact that they get a response. And people expect this. People expect these types of things in today's environment.
Aside from reporting things, can you also put like nice comments on there? Or is it mainly just for?
Like a Yelp concept?
No, more like, hey, the grass at Clay Park is looking great, something like that.
Good job. Yeah.
I mean, we could create a report category. I don't see why we couldn't do something like that. I see what you're saying. You know, trust me, we received, I remember about maybe a month ago now, a compliment about Rancho Miraloma Park. And I believe I forwarded to the board members. And when I shared that with the maintenance staff, they were ecstatic, you know, because they don't hear the positives. You know,
Great for morale. Yes.
No, it's great. It was great for morale. Yeah. It's just a little, hey, you know what? Somebody appreciate what you guys did. You know, I think Ross even had, we're off subject here, I apologize. Ross even said he'd gone to a chamber mixer and somebody commented on Clay Park or something one night, just completely unsolicited. You know, so if we can maybe create a forum like that, that'd be great.
There's no more comments. Does someone want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll move the board of directors approve the service agreement with GoGov for CRM software services and authorize the general manager to sign all necessary documents.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Ross Leisure,
Yes.
Edward Castellan,
Yes.
Jose Luis Godinez,
Yes.
Rebecca Redorte Burns,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson. Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
All right.
All right. Item 5.2.
Okay. No, you want us to move on? I'm sorry, you'll fade it out. Okay. That's okay.
That would be the purchase of the real property, which is the facility we're sitting in here, the district office. Almost 5 years ago tonight, okay, 1 month short, the district entered into a lease agreement for this property from the Rupert Unified School District. The way government agencies have to declare surplus property, there's specific rules. The school districts have a different set of rules that are unique. And the way that they had publicly listed this property for availability is what dictated the need for us to lease it with an option to buy. So what we have tonight in front of us is an item that the board previously approved in closed session, is the acquisition of this property for $150,000 plus the closing costs. This is in my estimates, a great deal. This was something that the board negotiated at the lease agreement. We had the property evaluated that time because this building took a significant amount of improvements to get it to where we're at, somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000. It was somewhat of the money pit when we started, but it's really proven to be a very valuable asset to the district. I could go on and on about the importance of this building, but I think you all understand that. What this would do would start the escrow. We have a $5,000 deposit that need to be made. There's a 60-day due diligence period. And then the balance with the escrow would be due at the end of that close of that. And then the property would essentially be ours. Ending our lease with the school district. We do have a monthly payment right now. There's $1,075 a month.
I think it's up to that.
Yeah, about that. It had an inflator on it, hasn't kicked in. We do have a small budget in next year's budget to cover the first couple months, just in case, but it'll be a good thing for the district to acquire this property.
Any questions?
Excited.
Someone want to make a motion then?
I move the board of directors approve resolution number 2022-20, authorizing the purchase of the district office from the Rupert Unified School District in the amount of $150,000 plus escrow costs.
A second.
Can I have a second? Oh, Ross seconded, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, and roll call. Ross Leisure,
Yes.
Edgar Castellan,
Yes.
Jose Luis Godinez.
Yes.
Rebecca Redorte Byrne,
Yes.
Kim Gerald Johnson. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, moving on to item 5.3, workshop on our CFD budget for fiscal year 2022-23.
Yes, Madam President, please give me 1 second. I didn't pull my presentation ahead of time here as I had hoped to. Let's see here, where is, let's see. As you're aware, we are deep into budget season here. Last meeting, we reviewed our general fund budget, and tonight we're talking CFD. I do have in front of you some draft budget numbers that the budget workshop has been working on. The budget committee, I'm sorry. So I want to start off with what is the CFD, something that we kind of haven't touched base on lately here. Community facility districts are special task districts by which property owners in an established geographic area agree to impose a tax on property within that area to fund services. These funds are restricted to geographic surface areas or designated parks and facilities. So how many CFDs do we have? We have a lot of them. The program was started in 2004, hence CFD 2004-1. And then later that year, 4-2 was formed. Delaware and Moon River are primarily, that CFP is entirely in Eastville. Vernola, Harvard, the 3 Harvest Villages parks, Limonite Meadows, Cambria, and Harmony. That CFP actually crosses over the freeway, covers both sides of the district at the 15 freeway. 5-1 covers Centennial. 5-2 is Sunset Ridge, which is the trail and landscaping between Centennial Park and the Sunset Ridge homes there off Camino Real. 6-1 is a district-wide CFD. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here. 7-1 is Shaler and Abigail Parks, which is over by Patriot High School. Look at that big jump there between 7-1 and 14-1. That's the recession that hit us there when there's no development going on. 14-1 is Esplanade, Serrano Ranch, Turnleaf, and there's some unique thing within that CFD. We actually maintain some streetscape within the internal streets there on that super block, as I call it. 14-2 is Cantera Park. 15-1 is Riverbend. 16-1 covers Quarry Park. It was originally formed to cover Quarry, and then it was a district-wide as well, and that also covers Sage Park now, portion of Horseshoe Lake and Skyview Event Center. And then Shadow Rock is our newest one, the 3 parks associated with Shadow Rock. So we do have a lot of CFDs there. And there's a test on which one covers what at the end of the meeting, so hope you brought your number 2 pencils. Revenues and expenses, and these are a little hard to read, I know, but the numbers there in front of you. The last couple of years of budget numbers are there. You know, the biggest one I really wanted to kind of bring to the board's attention tonight was CFD 4-1. If you look at the cover sheet here in front of you, the top there, it's the same spreadsheet, just for your information. 4-1, our revenues proposed or projected are $85,085. Kind of ironic how that worked out. And our expenses are $84,094. The unique thing about CFD 4-1 is when it was originally built, it had an inflator of 2% or CPI, whichever was greater. And many times CPI was less than 2%. We have this CFD is not keeping pace with inflation. I take that back. There's a max of 2% or CPI. It is a 4%, or the proposed CPIs for next year is 3.9%. I'll talk about that here in a second. So we're only getting half of what CPI is. So we're going to fall behind on this CFD eventually. And that's something that we're going to have some discussions on, probably next year, really. The rest of the CFDs are all extremely healthy. You know, as we go through, I don't necessarily want to go line by line on them, but every single one of the CFDs, if you look at 4-2, we're predicting $958,000 in revenues, and our expenses are $743,000. So we're putting nearly $200,000 into reserves. These are because of some strategic moves the district has made over the past couple of years. This CFD 4-2 struggled for many years. It was one that was greatly impacted by the recession that started in 2008. You know, all the homes that have now developed along the I-15 corridor there, they really planned to have been built 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and they only came into fruition in the last 5 or 6 years. So because of that, that CFD's reserves are not where it really should be. So it's nice to see a point that, you know, we're looking at $200,000 addition to reserves this year. And then the part of that's because the annexation of the apartments, the new apartments that are on Pass Ranch Road and 68th Street, that was not originally part of that CFD, so that's helping that as well. CFD 6-1 is unique. It is a district-wide CFD, but it reimburses the general fund for the maintenance of parks within the district. It's the only one that we kind of have set up that way. And then 16-1 that we've had a lot of discussion on recently. We have a lot of annexations currently going with it. If you look at that CFD, it's showing revenues of $327,000 and change this year. And it's showing expenses of $252,000, which is roughly just shy of $80,000 in excess funds that will go into reserve. But if you actually switch to that, flip to that detail page, the second to last page in your budget here, there's already a $75,000 contribution to reserves. So, you know, we're looking very, very healthy when it comes to this CFD, and it's starting to build its reserves as well, which is a good thing. We just recently started CFD 2016-1 annexation number 30, But in the pipes right now, we have 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35. I fully anticipate, based on the growth going on within the district right now, that we will hit the CFD annexation 40 this year, this calendar year, just based upon what's going on. So that'll put us in a healthy situation once those construction projects actually start. There are a number of CFDs within this, or a number of annexations within the CFD that have not been completed. The best example is CFD annexation number 2, which is effectively referred to as the Wineville Marketplace, which is on Limonite and Wineville. That annexation took place 6 years ago, and there's no construction that's taken place. Hence, there's been no revenue from that CFD yet. So just something I want to kind of point out there to the board. Within the CFD budgets is also the onboarding of the 3 Shadow Rock parks, which right now is tentatively set to open November 1st. I'll be honest with you, it's probably not going to happen. We'll talk about that later. But the funding is there for those parks. So we're excited for the new parks. They will be open, I guarantee that, but we're running into some water issues right now. And even with that, there was revenues from CFD 2020-1 this current fiscal year, and those funds will go straight to reserves. So that will start that CFD off very, very healthy, which is a very good situation. Other than that, as we've talked previously, we are looking at the onboarding of a new maintenance position, primarily because of the addition of the 3 parks in 2020-1. And associated with that, also within these budgets, is spread out half the cost of the purchase of a new vehicle as well. So other than that, so everything within the CFD is budget. Nothing is upside down by any means. Oh, yes, thank you. And Loretta came to me today, and we did have to add more money to our budget for fuel for obvious reasons. So it's really hitting us in the pocketbook. You know, our average fuel district-wide has increased almost $200 per month. Oh, sorry, $400 per month, $200 for the CFDs, $200 for the general fund. So let's hope there's an end in sight for our pocketbooks as well. With that, that's going to conclude my presentation regarding the CFDs. If you have any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I didn't want to steal too much of Lynn's thunder. Lynn Gruber will be here in person June 23rd as part of our annual CFD adoption process. She goes into great detail on these for you, but I want to make sure that everybody is comfortable where we're at in the budget process.
What is the life of a CFD? Not normally, but what has been the experience of that? Because you speak of some real old ones, and I'm wondering just how long do we use it in that form? Really?
Yes, so there are 2 different types of CFDs. There is a maintenance CFD like this, which is for eternity. You're always paying that tax for the maintenance of that facility. And there's construction CFDs, you know, a Melrose. They're the same thing. You see the signs, no Melrose, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That means the builder has paid for all of the construction costs up front. Many builders nowadays are opting to do a CFD or a Melrose for the construction, to cover the construction costs of the parks or sewer systems, something along those lines. And those have a term, typically a 30-year term.
Oh.
Yeah, some could be less, some could be more, correct, Bob?
Yes. They could be as long as, usually if you're building something, you're usually forming the CFD to repay bonds, and you would take the bond proceeds, build the public improvement, and you would repay the bonds with CFD levies, usually for 20 years, 25, sometimes as much as 30. So a construction CFD has a limited life. The maintenance CFDs, on the other hand, are just in perpetuity as long as there's a park there and there's taxpayers paying taxes.
Good, thank you.
So we've talked about 2061 and its reserves in general, but for example, is Quarry Park producing enough income from that area
to produce the reserve required for.
Yes, the original, so when we form a new CFD, part of the process is, you'll hear Lynn refer to an RMA, which is the rates and methods of apportionment. And so what we essentially do, and with Shadow Rock, we took the construction estimates, we took all of the square footages for hardscapes, softscapes, playground equipment, and Lynn has a big immaculate spreadsheet that figures the life expectancies of playgrounds versus concrete versus lighting systems and what their lifespans are, what the replacement costs are, figured out in the long run so that the reserves will go to cover those as well. So Corey was based around 16-1, so it's the perfect situation. That answers.
Why is it the perfect situation?
Because it's Corey Park, 16-1 was based for Corey Park. So the example we did when we looked at the annexation of Paradise Knolls into 16-1 or creating a new CFD, when essentially created an RMA and compared it, it was close to penny for penny. So it did not make sense for the district to form a new CFD just for Paradise Knolls when we could annex them into an existing CFD. So those are things we look at when a new development comes online.
Gotcha.
When Riverbend came online, I'm sorry, Riverbend, when Shadow Rock was processing, we compared it. It was very obvious very quickly. 16-1 would not cover the costs associated with the Shadow Rock parks. When Rio Vista builds, which will be north of Shadow Rock, we'll do the same exercise. Would 16-1 work? Probably not. Will 20-1 work? If it does, we can look at an annexation. If not, we would create a whole new CFD.
Gotcha. And so we keep track of that separately.
Correct.
Corey and
Yeah, Loretta has massive spreadsheets on all of this.
lucky you.
Loretta is the Excel guru.
So you don't need any, we don't have any motions or anything. We're just accepting.
No, this is an informational item for the board to, as we're going through the budget process and an opportunity to ask questions, how we are financially. The CFD is a unique situation that we're all getting more and more comfortable with. I just want to make sure that everybody understands it, that we're as transparent as possible when it comes to this stuff. And really try to help educate the board. I was joking about which parks are associated with which CFD. I still confuse them, but it is helpful to know when you're looking at a park, what are our general fund parks? What are our CFD parks? We do have different maintenance standards because of the funds available to them. So, and that's a question we get often from the public is, how come those parks look so much nicer? Well, they're newer, frankly, but there's a different, some of the people of the Shadow Rock combs, as you guys are well aware, they're paying about just over $1,000 a year for their CFDs. The CFD 16-1, the current rate without the new inflator is $658 a year. It's almost double what they're paying in Shadow Rock. It's a lot of money.
Mhm.
So I think that's important for us as a board to understand, so we can help answer questions as they arise in the public.
Any questions?
So you said 4-1 had a 2% limit on inflator. What about the other ones?
They're all 4%, and Lynn will clarify those when she's back here as well. They're all 4%, but at one point, the board had an adopted policy that was a 2% max CPI, a 2% max inflator that was in place for a number of years. And 4-2 was always the example that we gave. The way the CFD was written was as a 4% max, or 4% or CPI, whichever was greater. We ran a study that was in place for about 5 years. It cost the district over $100,000 in potential lost revenue. And at one point, Ms. Johnson can confirm this, that CFD's reserves were dangerously low.
Mhm.
Um,
Almost non-existent.
almost non-existent. So, the intent of that policy had the best of intentions, I believe, but the long-term ramifications have hindered that CFD's ability to properly maintain itself. The other thing the board adopted a number of years ago, about 5 years ago, was a capital reserve policy for our CFDs. So if you look just at any one of the pages there, just page 2 there, you see a reserves and then a capital replacement fund. So the goal of the reserve policy is to have our reserve at 100% of the operating budget, with everything else in excess of that going into the capital replacement fund. So the reserve policy would be a worst case scenario. Doomsday, greatest recession hits us, county goes bankrupt, they can't give us our money, whatever. We have a year's worth of operating funds in the bank for those CFDs. The capital replacement are for the playgrounds, concrete, trees, drinking fountains, things along those lines.
And I was so shocked when I joined this board and I discovered a playground and it lasts about 15 to 18 years. All that money we pour into those playgrounds and they're not a very long lasting item. They go south very quickly. So it was kind of shocking to me. And I thought of a playground as kind of a long-term capital investment. I mean, we're talking, I assume 30, 40 years. No, 15, 18. It's like, oh dear, we really do need money. Yeah, when Colby came on, we went out to lunch. And the first thing I said was, we need reserves, because unfortunately what was going on at that time is that the staff saw extra money in the budget as something, oh, we can add equipment to a playground, or we can add equipment, we can do something to a park because there's extra money. And there were virtually no reserves in any of these CFDs. It was shocking. And so he came on and we had lunch and I said, that's one of the things that we're missing. And I'm sure the board members felt the same way. So he got on that right away and they look a lot better now. We actually have reserves.
Well, and to be fair, 4-2 being kind of the best example out there. It was the perfect storm of the recession, the problem with SCE and the power lines hindering development. There was a lot of things associated with that one, why it struggled.
But
So, but with the developments come on and we have done a lot of things across the district that have reduced our operating costs that are benefiting not only the general fund, but the CFDs as well. So,
any questions?
And where do development impact fees come in? Is that
development impact fees are completely separate. Those are apples and oranges. We assess development impact fees for new construction, but those are non-maintenance dollars. We can't use those for maintenance at all.
and that's a total source of like funding mechanism, right?
It's a funding mechanism, correct. That's why you don't see it on any of these. It's not in our budget anywhere, but it is on your monthly financials. It's the first page, first 3 pages, really. It lists the lump sum on the first page, and the second 2 pages are the details as to where we're at on that. If you have any questions as to where that money came from, what day we got it, the check number it was on, Loretta has that.
APN number.
So we can plot where those funds have come from, when they received. Legally, we need to use them within 7 years, correct?
5 years.
5.
Was it 5? Okay, 5 within 5 years. I thought it was 7. Within 5 years of receipt, technically at that point, the developer or the homeowner can come back and say, you haven't used my funds. I want them refunded to me. So we track, first in, first out type.
Used or committed to use.
Used or committed to use, correct. So.
That's when we commit everything.
Thank you. Perfect.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to item 6.1, general manager's report.
Do we have to make a motion?
No, this is just a workshop.
There's a motion, I think, listed on there. We'll go ahead and take that off.
What? On the workshop, it just says recommendation. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not. That's next time we'll accept the budget, right?
I think it was just receive and file.
No, it says I move the board of directors accept the preliminary CFD budget.
Yeah. Either way.
You'll accept and hopefully approve it at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I closed the screen and we get it back open. So
so we're saying we don't need a motion?
it's not necessary.
Okay,
It's,
okay. Yeah, general manager's report.
all right. So as you heard me allude to, we're having some issues at Shadow Rock. I had to bust out my algebra skills the other day even. So in a nutshell, the irrigation system at Shadow Rock was designed under certain assumptions that a 2-inch water meter will supply a minimum of 65 gallons per minute. On average, a 2-inch water meter is supplying about 120 gallons per minute. And it's capable physically of about 190 gallons per minute. We're not seeing that anywhere, we're not seeing that right now at Shadow Rock. There's a lot of finger pointing going on between the engineer and the architects, Riverview Community Services District, the contractor that put in the water system up there, trying to figure out what's going on. We have a water flow test again tomorrow morning. We're hoping a couple of things that have been found will take care of this problem. If it doesn't, the developer will have to go back to the drawing board with the civil engineers and the irrigation landscape architects and figure out if it's a different, so that 65 gallons per minute minimum that we need is to feed the booster pump on site. I didn't specify that. The booster pump will bring the pressure up at the park to what we need to operate everything.
But it's not 65 at the moment.
It's not, we're not getting 65 at the moment. I don't know what it is, but it's below that. So we're having a flow test done tomorrow to tell us what the actual flow is. Based on those results, and maybe we got lucky and they fixed some things. You know, we've talked to the pump manufacturer and, you know, we're out there, Riverview Community Services District is coming to replace the meter, hopefully that there's a defective meter, you know, that's a long shot. If these things don't work, the developer will have to look at installing a second water meter or upsizing the current supply line to a larger meter to get the flow that is required. It's not necessarily a pressure issue we're having, it's the amount of flow. And they don't directly relate to each other. I've learned a lot about hydrology the last week and a half here that I don't know, frankly, I don't know if I need to know at this point in my head. In a nutshell, this could potentially delay the opening of the park. Because prior to any planting taking place on site, there needs to be coverage tests. And a coverage test is exactly what it sounds like. We run the irrigation system for the sprinklers. We make sure all the dirt gets wet and it gets wet evenly. When we're running it on the plant material, we're checking that all the drip systems are emitting the proper amount of water evenly across the system, across the park. And once it passes all that test, they've already passed all their mainline pressure tests and different things like that. Once it passes a coverage test, then they can start the installation of plant material and the turf. Turf there is sod, which will be a good thing because it will help speed up the establishment of that turf, that we can enter the 90-day maintenance period sooner. All the plant material needs to be in the ground and, you know, there for a little bit of time to make sure that it's gonna take before we enter 90-day maintenance. So once all the turf is established, then we will enter 90-day maintenance period. Lennar still owns this property and they are responsible for the maintenance of it during that first 90 days, as well as any maintenance, damage, vandalism that may occur. It's their choice to open the park to the public or not. And for liability reasons, they're gonna choose to keep it closed. If we have to go to a new water meter or an additional water line or a larger supply line, it could take as much as a month to have it installed. Which will delay the planting, which will delay the plant, which will delay the 90-day maintenance, which, right now we're looking at a November 1 opening, and that was being generous with the 90-day maintenance period. Having started here relatively soon, we're not gonna hit that. This has been exaggerated, everything because of the problem Lennar had getting electric to the site. Had electricity been available at the site, I'm sorry, we should have done this a long time ago. We said Maryland.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Marilyn.
I'm so sorry. I just looked, you should have spoken up. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Sorry that it was for naught.
Had electricity been available, basically when construction started, the certification of the pump that is required by the manufacturer would have taken place, and we would have known 2-3 months ago that we had this issue, and it could have been worked out while concrete was being placed and things along those lines. So by no means is the district responsible for any of this. None of this falls back on us. This is 100% on the builder. So that's where we're at in regards to Shadow Rock Park. Depending upon how the flow test goes tomorrow, I'm either gonna have a, hey, we're good text, or we have a meeting at 1 o'clock. We need to figure out what the next steps are gonna be. But I have made it 100% clear to Lennar and the contractor, planting will not take place until we have a fully operational, as designed or redesigned irrigation system. So that's Shadow Rock. So we will get there. I'm comfortable with that. We do look good though on the 2 pocket parks. There does not appear to be any issues associated with them. Other than that, as you're all aware, school gets out basically yesterday, today, and tomorrow, depending on where the kids go to school. Swim lessons start a week from this coming Monday. Registration is doing great. We have a full aquatic staff. I'm very pleased to say that. Zena Whitney has been working very hard with the aquatic staff to get them onboarded, trained, up and going, ready to run. Loretta has played a key part in that, getting them all through the onboarding process. So I appreciate everybody's help in getting that going. Summer youth basketball starts next Tuesday evening for youth basketball practices, and games start, I believe, 2 weeks after that. So our registration for that is looking very good. It's close to pre-pandemic numbers for our summer program, which is usually smaller, just because it is during the summer. Concerts in the park will start later in June. Staff is well under the way for our planning for July 3rd. Independence celebration, banners will go up June 1st, and we'll start selling our tickets. That'll be all at Granola Park, so we're excited about that as well. Another thing I'm pleased to announce is this past Tuesday, Morelli, I keep saying her name wrong, Morelli Pena started with us at the senior center, who replaced Janet, who left to the city of Riverside. We wish her the best, but we are excited to have Morelli here with us. She came from the city of Ontario, and is jumped right in, is doing a fantastic job with the senior center already. And then June 8th, Cecilia, what's Cecilia's last name?
That was the C, I think.
Yeah, I don't know the top of my head, I apologize. June the 8th, Cecilia will start with us, and she's coming from the city of Corona. And she'll be working at Skyview Event Center, opposite Nestor there. So we're excited to be getting back up to the staffing levels we need to be at to be able to ensure that we're able to provide all these services to our residents. Historically, the last week of school is very quiet. And next Tuesday, our phones will blow up. What do you have for my kids to do?
They're bored. I want them out of the house.
Tomorrow, both splash pads at Memorial Park and Glen Avon Heritage will open to the public, and I am pleased to tell you They will be 99.9% operational. The kids probably won't know the difference, but the actuator button at Memorial Park went out during the winter. We have a new one on order. Hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. If not, Kurt and our contractor have worked it around that the system will still operate. It'll just run without having to press the button. And then once that's in, it'll be installed and we'll go back to the actuator button working. So we did have 2 major breaks associated with both facilities. A coupling blew out at Memorial Park, a 6-inch line. That was repaired. And then literally that same evening, that Friday, we get a call that there's water at Glen Avon Heritage. The supply line to the restrooms and splash pad under the concrete burst. And that was a 2-inch line. So, you know, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just, but we have them up and running and they will both be fully operational tomorrow. So we're pleased with that.
Fantastic.
I think that concludes my report for this evening, unless you had any questions. Oh, I just want to recap the Veterans Memorial Wall as well. Just a reminder, that was this past weekend. It was very well attended. The honorees, their family members, I think, were very pleased. All in all, it ended up being a semi-cloudy day, which kept the temperatures down, which made everybody else happy, I think. But I think the maintenance staff did a great job getting that facility ready for the public. The new replacement plaques were in place. They look phenomenal. Kurt's already trying to reach out to our monument company to see if there's something we can do with the older plaques that the white is somewhat faded, I guess, or dingy, to see what can be done, you know, by staff to brighten that up, because it's the stone that's fading. It's not paint or anything like that. So we'll see if we can come up with something like that to make it all look and pop as we want. But thank you for everybody that was involved in that day. I think it was a great turnout.
Board member comments. Mr. Godinez, do you want to start?
Yes, just want to start way back at market night. It was a pretty good turnout. That was cool to start that off and then go right into CARPD. It was going up north was really insightful. I'm glad I was able to attend that conference, and hopefully I can apply, well, I will apply the knowledge I learned at CARPD to my work as a director. Memorial Wall was awesome. That was my first time attending. Kind of regret not having attended any previous ones. Shout out to Rubidoux for sending their singer for our national anthem, and shout out to Hooper Valley High School, go Jaguars, for sending their band. And thank you to staff for working on Saturday, you know.
Debbie puts that on.
Yeah.
She does phenomenal job.
So thank you to them, and then thank you to our interpreter for being here tonight, available. No one showed up, unfortunately, but she was available, so thank you to her as well. And yeah, that concludes my comments.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes, I too was part of the Veterans Wall. There was a lot of things that really impressed me and also put me on notice that I need to get better at. And it's the small details, but nonetheless, I think they need to be checked off. I would have loved to have the plaques actually open so that people could have seen what they look like. They were exchanging later, opening the boxes and looking to it. So it's things like that. But I'm used to having a checklist to say, okay, the boxes are open, okay, this is done. And so there's just a lot of detail. So I do believe that we need some more help in making sure that we all share that kind of wealth of getting the details done. The microphones, again, when that's an issue, it kind of begins to say, okay, wait a minute, things are not going quite the way I want them to go. And I say that because at the Easter Bunny, whatever they called it, we had some issues there. So I just want to say that, you know, if we need some upgraded microphones or whatever that may be.
And I apologize for that. I have no idea what happened, because when we were testing it ahead of time,
We sure did.
Debbie walked, she goes, Kobe, it was working. I said, I know, we tested it. I don't know what happened,
We
so
personally did.
it was,
It's
it's frustrating.
It is, and so that being said, I just want to put that out there. It is the detailed type of thing. Things like that are not easy to put together and ensure that everything is, you know, up to par. But short of that, like I said, I did make an announcement in Spanish to let people know that we will be taking applications during the year. We missed 5 or 6 due to the fact that they started late in filling out their application. I would say that we don't want that to happen again. So encouraging people to start early. There's some research to be done to things like that. It's not easy to gather and put it on paper. So I think there was one party that came up to me to ask me about that. And as you had mentioned, Colby, that they can come to the office directly, should it be that they need help. So that's what I want to do, is to encourage that if they don't know how to do it, if they want some help, we're here to do that. So that was what my takeaway was from that. But again, I got emotional to it because just seeing people out there to leave this kind of legacy is emotional. I never attended something like that. I've always attended Rose Hills during all this type of presentation. But here it is the residents that live here that, you know, this is their town, so to speak. So I want to make sure that I'm out there helping them to do that. So again, that was my emotion about that. But thank you for everyone that did assist and do so. Again, thank you, Colby.
If I just have one thing just to clarify too, when we go back next year to printing our regular recreation brochure, it is the one event that actually is put in both brochures because of the timing of it. So we have always advertised it year round, and we would take nominations at any time.
Oh,
But just the pandemic kind of
okay.
threw us off.
Was not aware of that. Okay, thank you. That's what my report is in terms of the vet as well. I did want to make mention in terms of the personnel / budget that I'm also a committee member on that. There's a few items that I think I'd like to make sure that we, the committee, put together to bring to the board, and I won't elaborate on that now. But
We do have our committee update shortly.
Okay, well, great. So I'm anxious to present it with the hope that in that research that the board can give us some okay to go forward and or to add what they might want. Because I really feel like I want to share it with all the board members when we're doing these kind of things. Like, well, there's 2 of us here, but I like to see what, you know, Kim would say or what Edgar would say. So again, I'm looking forward to that. So thank you.
Is that it? Mr. Leja, can we have it so we can see?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, it was a shame that we had to miss the memorial wall ceremony this year. It's the first time we have missed it. It is a great ceremony. It's probably my favorite thing that we do in the district. Sorry, missed it. However, where I was at, the Blue Angels were performing, and we got to see that from the backyard.
Years
And it was the first time they did it with an all-female flight crew.
Oh,
So that was pretty impressive.
Yes.
And hopefully I will be back at our next board meeting in person.
thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Castellan?
Yeah, so I was also lucky to have attended the CARP-D conference last week. So it was, I mean, a different experience from last year, but still very informative. I managed to meet some new members and staffers from other agencies and kind of get their feedback on their experience and what they're going through. So very informative. We talked about how to do advocacy in terms of legislative goals, right? Probably the presentation that we got wasn't
quite relative to us.
Yeah, relative, but I think there was something to be learned.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then there was other informative workshops as well. And so yeah, definitely took some ideas that we want to have further discussion on. So yeah, in terms of the Veterans Memorial Wall, it was a great event. I was very impressed by what staff put forward. And props to Debbie for spearheading that, and all to the rest of the staff for executing it well. Definitely impressed by David and then the nominees and their families, and how they're very responsive, and they really liked the ceremony. Lastly, I want to also thank our staff interpreter that came by. Unfortunately, we couldn't put her to work, but hopefully we can do so in the future. And so that's it for me.
Thank you. I too was at the Memorial Wall ceremony, and as always, it's a wonderful ceremony. You know, you live someplace too long when they name off all those names, and I counted and I knew 21 of those people that are on that wall, and 21 of them personally, including my father. So it's a wonderful ceremony. I'm particularly happy that we were able to get Bob Grace on the wall, because his wife has waited for over 2 years because of the pandemic. He was approved back then and now. So she and her family were just so happy that that was finally able to happen. And I also want to thank Marilyn, because I know she went to a lot of trouble to rearrange her schedule, rearrange her family schedule so that she could be here tonight for us. And it's just really disappointing that there's literally no one in the audience, including the person who had requested her services. So that's just really disappointing, and something to keep in mind for the future. Thank you. Committee reports, Budget and Personnel Committee. Does anybody want to say anything? We have your minutes.
We discussed a good chunk of it already.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add?
I'd like to ask a question on the committees of events. You mentioned a event that I'm not accustomed to the name of that. How is that coming, and will you be going forward with more information on that?
Are you talking about the?
Unfortunately, because it's not on the agenda, we can't discuss it tonight.
Oh,
But
okay.
I can update you
Okay.
on all the events and where we're at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, I'm kind of anxious with the 4th of July and all these other things coming about. Okay, thank you.
Future committee meetings.
Yes, we do have a budget and personnel committee scheduled for June the 14th at 10 a.m. Make sure we put that on their calendars. And then we do have our community trails arena meeting June 8th. That will be at Larimore Park. And then I do promise the park planning committee, we actually will be finally able to schedule something. We're getting the information we've been waiting on. So that's it for the committee reports, I believe.
Okay. Where the rest of my agenda is.
Oh, yeah, the back line, kind of at the back here.
Okay, then, that's it. Our next 2 board meetings are June 9th and June 23rd, and otherwise, what's the time?
7:32.
We will now, how do we put it? We'll adjourn this meeting and then go back into closed session. I assume you guys want just a little break for a couple minutes? Sure. Okay.
Yeah, stretch.
Colby, should I stay on this channel?
Yeah,
Ross,
there's
you're,
putting us in it, and we have to admit them to join, so it won't be a problem. I just need to stop thank you for telling me that, though. I need to stop
Gotcha.
stop the live feed.
So I guess we have to go back and use the other link.